Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good today. We're going to have a little bit of a conversation about Stan Kroenke being in court on, when was it? Last week? I'm trying to follow this story as best as I can. There's not a lot of information out there, so I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. Everybody's being really tight-lipped about it, and that's okay. That's okay. As long as Stan Kroenke is in court, I really don't care. I don't think that anybody else would disagree with me out there in the statement that we would just love to see Stan Kroenke squirm, sitting in a seat in court, being deposed by the Bulldog Bob Blitz himself. Yeah, I could go for that. Now, let's ask ourselves some questions about this particular situation. The one question that I have is that Stan Kroenke, while he was in St. Louis, didn't say two words to anybody. The entire time he was here, he bought the team in 2010, officially bought the remainder of the, 60% share that he didn't own of the team, because when he originally bought in 1995, he bought 30% of the team, and then he bought an additional 10% in the early 2000s, and then obviously the rest is history. But in 2010, until the team moved until 2015, he didn't hardly say but a handful of words. And if you remember correctly, you can go back in time in YouTube and you can actually look up the interviews that Stan Kroenke had with local news stations in St. Louis, and that they talked about how he could be trusted. Just go back and look at it. It's an actually just disturbing thing to watch, to see this just mustachioed villain out of some 1930s silent film is sitting there with his bad toupee, or standing there, I should say, rather, and flat out lying to the fans. And then for years after the fact, sending his cronies out and continuously lying. But we don't need to be told about that, because we know. So now let's talk about the fun stuff, right? The fun stuff is this. Oh, by the way, before we get into that, how do you guys like the new format? This new kind of layout of everything that we're working on here? I like it. Let me know if you like it, because I love it. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. Make sure that you guys pop in. It doesn't matter if you're on Facebook or whatever. Pop in over at the comments. If I don't get to it during the show, I'll definitely get to it after the show. But let's get into the fun stuff with Kroenke actually having to be on the stand, or at least in some capacity, obviously within the COVID world that we live in today, to have to be disposed and have to be interviewed for the court process in St. Louis. I guarantee you, there's things I know. There's things that I don't tell you guys for a multitude of reasons. Either I don't have three independent corroborating sources to back up information that I have heard, or I don't have people that are willing to go all in and say, yeah, I'm willing to put my name to that and state that this happened, because most of these people would lose either their jobs, lose their livelihood. They'll be blacklisted from all the other different types of sports organizations, and nobody wants that. Nobody ever wants anybody to lose a job. So when it comes to the Kroenke thing, I'm very careful about what I say, how I say it, and who gives me that information. But let's play a little game. What do you guys think that Kroenke actually had to say on the stand? What his intentions were? What were his intentions? How long did him and his cronies and or the NFL plan this entire process? If there's one thing that I've learned, and you guys can attest to this, watching football for 30 plus years, I've watched football for a long time. I know everything about the game, and especially the political aspect of it on the other side of the administrative portion. I want to know what Kroenke had to say, right? What was the truth? What really happened? What did he not tell us as fans? What did Kevin Demoff not tell us as fans. They flat out lied on multiple occasions. That's what we want to know. We want to see this guy, and I use that term loosely, we want to see him squirm. We want to see him wiggle and writhe. That's what we want. Because he hurt us, right? As fans, he lied to us. You can trust me. I've shown it. I've proven I have a track record with the fans in Missouri. You can trust me. I'm an honest guy. Where you at now, Stan? You got a $5+ billion stadium out in LA that you can't put a single ass into. Your team is imploding left and right. Yeah, you're making the playoffs, but you're having to sell your soul to the devil in order to get it. So, yeah, you picked up Matt Stafford. Great. You traded away Goff, but that just proves the fact that you guys can't develop, or you guys do not even have a process of scouting the talent that you even have. So you're in the situation that you are monetarily. And now you're having to sit for deposition on a lawsuit that I could promise you you're going to lose. All right? LA Rams fans out there, they're going to lose. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. So it would behoove the NFL to settle. Now, what does that mean? Me and Gene Bonds, we talked about this on the rundown the other day, and if you guys haven't checked it out, you go over to Apple Podcast. You could, subscribe to it over there, Apple Podcast, Gateway City Sports. You could go over to gatewaycitysports.com, and you can find a player over there. You can listen to it, but check it out because we talked about that potential over there. We're going to talk about it a little bit right now. What would a potential settlement look like now? Because we know that's where it's headed. Because the NFL is no way in shape and form going to allow this to go to court because the documents will not be sealed. You and me will be able to see it, and we'll be able to know exactly what the NFL did. All the, as I will quote the headline from one of my articles, dirty deeds done dirt cheap, that the NFL cartel, you see my little play on words there, what they did to get to where they are. So now let's talk about what a potential solution looks like. I think the two best solutions, and you guys could disagree with me on this, and please feel free to do so. But I'm going to tell you right now, the two best solutions, expansion or relocation of one particular team that I'll get into. But the number one thing is expansion. I think that the best solution for settlement is an expansion team in St. Louis. A homegrown team, cut the cord. You could waive the expansion fee, do all that stuff, right? You don't even necessarily have to build a new stadium. I know everybody talks about the dome is trash, it's garbage, whatever, blah, blah. But is it really? Is it really that bad? I don't think so. Think about it from this perspective. The Rams, during their arbitration process in 2012, 2013, when they were going through that, remember the $750 million plan that they came up with? Why not do something like that with the Dome? Why not have the NFL give you $700, $800 million and throw it at the Dome? You don't have to go build a new facility. You can get a team in there, brand new lease, brand new facility, put a retractable roof on it, get big, huge glass panels, let a ton of natural light in, just have it completely redesigned and go from the ground up. That would be absolutely fantastic. I think any of us would enjoy that atmosphere. That's the first thing. Second thing, infrastructure around the stadium. Any of us, any of you guys out there, gals out there, that you guys had season tickets or you went to games regularly, what's the one complaint that you had? I had two. The first complaint is parking. It was abysmal. It was awful. Having to park in those dank, damp, wet, leaky, nasty parking garages that they had. They're eyesores. They're awful. You don't feel safe in them. All that stuff. Those were terrible. I hated those things. You overpaid for it, and you guys could say the same thing. But secondly was the ability for tailgating. I love tailgating. I love to mingle about and go talk with the other fans and have conversations and do a little bit of trash talk. That's always fun, right? To be able to go around and talk with everybody. Maybe have a burgers, have some dog. So we're back. If you guys, we lost connection there for a little bit. So I hope we still have connection. I hope we're still good. But we're going to try to work through this thing. I'm going to take a quick break here real quick. I'm going to double check and make sure that we're still broadcasting, and I'll be right back with you guys. So hang tight. I'm sorry. We're continuing to work on this, and I'll be right back. All right, we are back, and we are still broadcasting. We are still live. Well, once again, grossly apologize. Where I'm located, it's the bandwidth on my internet and the just everything is just awful. It's just terrible. I'm hoping Elon Musk comes through, baby. You know, Starlink, let's go. We're tired of having crappy garbage internet in rural areas. Anybody out there, my rural friends, can attest for that. So let's get back to what we were talking about and about a solution. We were talking about an expansion team. We were talking about the current dome because we're talking about the possibility of having another building that has been built either out in West County or South County, wherever, right? Wherever you build that thing, it doesn't matter. It's going to cost you $1.5 billion to build. You're going to have cost overruns. Look what happens to the Rams out in L.A. They're planning on $2 billion. Look where they're at now. You're talking about having a close to $6 billion stadium now at this point. So where does that line get drawn in the sand? Where do you stop? You know, especially if these teams can escape these leases in 30 years and bounce and leave you stuck with the check as a taxpayer. Do you really want that? No, nobody wants that. So I would say have the NFL give you $500+ million, $800 million, whatever, to revamp the dome. You redo all the infrastructure around it, clean it all up, make it nice and neat, maybe give you some green areas. Just do a lot of really nice things, right? And really make it awesome. That would be, I think, the best solution for everybody involved. That's what's going to get a settlement done. You'll get a team in St. Louis. It'll be an expansion team. You'll have a couple of years to get everything done and set up because it's not going to happen overnight. Now, the second solution is to have a team relocate, and I think you guys exactly know where I'm going if you've been following this for any extended period of time. You guys know that the Jacksonville Jaguars are consistently rumored to leave. We know Shad Khan attempted to buy the then St. Louis Rams at the time. And Mark Lamping, the former Cardinals president, up until, I believe, 94, 95, St. Louis guy, knows and understands the market. Same thing with Khan. You know, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, him and his wife still live in the Chicago area, suburban area around Chicago. So, relatively close by. So I would look at it from that perspective, and I would say, hey, man, you got to really think to yourself, all those puzzle pieces fit. Plus, you wouldn't have to change divisions. You wouldn't have to, do any like really logistical nightmare type of stuff. It just fits. All the puzzle pieces just magically plug into one another, into the next. You could still redo the dome, but the issue that you have with that is that you're going to have a team playing in there while you're trying to rehab it. Can it be done? Yes, it's been done before multiple times. So if I'm looking at it from my perspective, I've got to sit there and go, man, the best solution for St. Louis is to get an expansion team, because let's be clear about something. The last expansion team in 2002, the Houston Texans. Prior to that was the Cleveland Browns 2.0 in 99. The Houston Texans paid $750 million of an expansion fee. It is a fee. It is not a fixed number. It's not because of something in particular. It's an arbitrary number that the NFL had come up with to pad the pockets of the other owners and say, hey, let them in the league, be happy. It's an arbitrary number. It's made up.
It's like unicorn fairy dust. It doesn't exist. So when people sit there and say, oh, there's no way that we can get an expansion team. Yes, you can get an expansion team. It's been proven that they have given expansion teams. Look at Cleveland. So I don't want to hear that argument that we can't get an expansion team or, oh, you've got to have an owner that, let me tell you something. These multi-billion-dollar guys, they understand that this is money. It's guaranteed money. It's like you have your own printing press in your backyard. You're printing money. The NFL makes money without putting a single butt in a seat. Guys, look at COVID. They're not hurting. They're still paying multi-million-dollar salaries. They're still making huge, massive amounts of money. Let's not get into that. The reason baseball's been in trouble, NHL's been in trouble, because they're not revenue sharing, first thing. And second thing is because they're structured on their TV contracts and everything. Baseball uses a lot of money from gate sales, right? Ticket sales, merchandise, all these other different types of things. That's where they use to make a lot of their money. NFL doesn't do that. They make 65+% of their revenue streams from TV. That's why they can stay afloat. So that's why they're in the position that they're in. If you guys want to get in and you want to discuss in the comments section of what your ideas, you've heard my two. That's 4. 2. You've heard my 2 ideas, which would be an expansion team or a relocation of the Jaguars. A third might possibly be the Chargers. But once again, Dean Spanos doesn't want to come here. He wants to stay out there, and he wants to twist the knife on Stan Kroenke because of the way that he screwed him. So there's that. So now let's talk about the big news in St. Louis. Arenado, Nolan Arenado to St. Louis. That's huge. I mean, this is the biggest move that the Cardinals made, I think, in acquiring a talent since Matt Holliday. Now, other people can say, oh, we got Lance Berkman and we got Carlos Beltran with it. Those guys they were great in their own time, in their own right, but the fact of the matter is they were down towards the back end of their careers. We all were aware of that. You're getting a guy in his prime, multi-time All-Star. Just a pro of all pros that wants to win. He's made his money and he wants to win a World Series. He's driven. He's just like the fans in St. Louis that expect perfection and expect the best. And that's what we want to see. That's what we want to have in St. Louis. We want to have a guy that has that edge, that's angry, that wants to win. We don't want these passive-aggressive people. We don't want these other folks that are, oh, well, I'm just okay just getting by. I'm just trying to make a paycheck, like the Dexter Fowlers of the world. As much as I love Dexter Fowler, this is his retirement send-off, okay? The contract that he signed with the Cardinals was his retirement contract. That was going to be money that he was going to use for the rest of his life, okay, going into the future. I understand from a business perspective. I get it. I'm not angry with Dexter. He's a genius. Super smart. Same thing with Matt Carpenter. I think Matt Carpenter could play somewhere else, maybe in an AL team, whatever the case is, but he does not need to be playing the field. He's a defensive liability. Really, to be honest with you, the last couple of years, his bat hasn't really been there. Now, I'm going to jump over to the comment section real quick. We're going to look at a couple of comments because we've had some stuff kind of trickling in here and there. Obviously, we've had some conversation on the football stuff. I'll let you guys kind of go about that. But on the baseball stuff, Thurman pops in and he says, so does Nolan Gorman pick up an outfielder's glove? I don't think so. I don't really foresee that being the case. If the Cardinals are going to go get an outfielder, I foresee them going and getting an outfielder, either via trade or they're going to pick somebody up, free agency. I would say trade. That's just the Cardinals, no pun intended, their MO. So I would see that. Arlington's popped in there and said that Dylan Carlson does. And, Dylan Carlson is our right fielder. He's going to be our right fielder going forward. Now, the big question that I have out there is the Harrison Bader question. Nobody's debating that he has elite speed. Okay? But what I debate when it comes to Harrison Bader is his arrogance. and thinking that he can get to anything, that everybody thinks that he's an elite defensive outfielder. I think that the viewpoint is that he's elite defensive because he has upper tier elite speed. And that gives him the jump on balls that you traditionally don't see other players getting that jump on. Jimmy Edmonds did not have elite speed. He was above average. He's a relatively speedy guy, but he was just above average. But he was elite defensively. He had an elite glove. He had elite presence. He knew where he could go and play in that outfield, how deep, how shallow, based on other players. And he was a student. He understood how other players, when they were in the batter's box, how they were going to bat, how they were going to play. So that's the one thing that you need to consider and keep in mind when we're talking about Harrison Bader. He has elite speed. Nobody is debating that. But his defense, I think, is a little bit suspect. We're referring to his glove. We all know that as far as batting-wise, he can't even hit his weight as far as a batting average, hardly. Okay? You know, I always use the philosophy, obviously I grew up in a rural area. We've all heard these things over the years. You can't hit the broadside of a barn. Can't hit water if you fell out of a boat. Those type of things, right? Harrison Bader is too worried about launch angle, and he needs to be worried about hitting to the gaps and legging it out. Fundamental baseball. Simple. You have elite speed. You can beat anybody down the baseline. You can beat any throw except for an elite third baseman or something, elite second baseman that can pick that throw and get you. But they're going to have to be so good at it so quick because you're so fast. That's where Harrison Bader needs to focus. Elite speed, hit to the gaps. You'll get on base. You'll have a tremendous OBP. You'll be in great shape. That's the way you do it. Harrison, if you're listening to me out there, buddy, love you to death. I'm telling you, man, hit to the gaps. I understand. Power is sexy. The home run is sexy. The home run gets you paid. Look at anybody out there. I get it. But if you want to have success, you want to be the best, you want to be viewed as one of those type of guys, start focusing on the fundamentals of where you're good at. You have elite speed. Use it. Ricky Henderson used it. Was he trying to hit bombs? Nope. Willie McGee, Vince Coleman, Ozzie Smith. Were they out there trying to cork home runs all the time? Hell no, they weren't trying out there. They were out there doing what they knew to get on base. Because if you get on base, there's a potential that you could score a run. You score runs, you win the game. As Herman Edwards said, you play to win the game. You play to win the game. It's that simple. It ain't hard. So let's move on to the Tyler O'Neill situation out there in outfield. Over there left. Okay, let's go check that out for a second. Your right, my left, whatever. You get the idea. Left for me, right for me. You get the idea. But I like Tyler O'Neill. He's speedy. He's not as fast as Harrison Bader. But he's a good speed threat. But he definitely has better defensive capabilities. His glove is better than Harrison Bader. That's a fact. There's no question about that. My question is, I'm concerned about his ability at the plate. It's kind of almost the same situation with Harrison Bader. If Tyler O'Neill would focus more on the fundamentals and hitting to the gaps, he would be such a tremendous threat. He would be a double threat like you wouldn't believe. If he could hit those power alleys, I mean, he would be absolutely tremendous. Could you imagine if he could find a way to hit to the opposite field? You're talking doubles, triples all day long. Nobody can touch him because he's that quick. And he's a strong kid. Everybody's seen him. He's a big, strong, built guy. He can handle it. Let's get off this bandwagon with the players of thinking that you have to hit these home runs. You don't have to hit home runs. You have to get on base. Getting on base scores runs. Scoring runs wins games. Period. We don't need to get in that. Let's pop over into the comment section And yes, everybody, I have been throwing in Major League references. If you haven't noticed, I'm a big fan of of the series of movies, Major League, but specifically 1 and 2. 1 obviously is my favorite. 2 is okay. But definitely been throwing some of those references out there. And remember, and Thurman brought it up, Willie Mays Hayes. Remember in that movie where he says, every single time you pop, the coach says to him, every single time I see you pop one of those balls in the air, you're going to give me push-ups. I think it's like 20 push-ups, whatever. And remember, he did the same thing with Michael Dorn out there playing defense. If you play one more ball off your hips like that, I'm going to make you do so many push-ups or whatever. And then he comes back and he says, here, I got it in my contract. It states that I don't have to do any calisthenics that I don't think are necessary. And he, at that point, decides to urinate on the contract, which is hilarious all in its own right. But yes, when it comes to the players, a lot of these players are playing for that next contract. They want to get paid. I don't blame them. But the fact of the matter is, Harrison Bader's never going to be a home run hitter. He might hit at some point in time in his career 20 home runs. He's never going to be a home run hitter. Not like an Albert Pujols. Not like what Dylan Carlson is probably going to end up being, which is going to be kind of a 30 home run guy. Not like a Nolan Arenado. Thank you, Mo, for going and getting this kid. Thank you. Let's not stop there. Let's go out and let's get a top-flight pitcher. Speaking of pitchers, let's talk about the Carlos Martinez situation for a second. Now, if you guys have been following me for some time, you know how I feel about Carlos Martinez. I think he's an extremely talented individual. I think he has all the talent in the world. The only problem is there. He's more worried about posing on his Instagram wearing Gucci and driving Lamborghinis and dating pop stars or whatever than he is about playing baseball. He consistently shows up from off-season programs overweight, out of shape. And he's always... And how much money is he pulling down this year? What, 16, 17 million? He shouldn't be making much more than, I don't know, 6 to 8 for his production level. Andrew Miller, a lefty specialist. He's going to come in for like, what, 1 inning? Okay? You're paying him, what, 12 and a half or something? I mean, it's just, these are the bad contracts that we talk about with the Cardinals. And I think they've figured it out. I think they've learned their lesson. Look at a Brett Cecil type of contract. Dexter Fowler, the Matt Carpenter extension. We can go on. But what we're starting to see now with this Nolan Arenado move, we're starting to see a change. And I hope it's a change for the better. But we will keep watching it. I want to see some more pitching. I'm not really like super duper set on having more bullpen help. I want another top flight starter. I want a middle of the rotation type of guy, right? Use an example of us Cardinal fans that we're used to. Lance Lynn, right? Lance Lynn type of guy. Middle of the rotation, just an innings eater. He's going to be 4 or less in the ERA. He's going to rack up some wins. He's going to chew up some time. That's what you want. You don't need another Jack Flaherty. You've got Jack Flaherty. You've got your ace, okay? He's there. You've got your veteran presence in Adam Wainwright. You signed him back for another year. Let's get Yadier Molina back in here. Let's start teaching some of this stuff. And then you can go out and you can get that one guy. I mean, Kim, the jury is still out on him. We don't know what we're going to get out of Michaelis now. Almost said Michaelis. Michaelis. We're not really sure what we're going to get out of him now at this point after his surgery and after he's been injured. We don't know. So we have to start looking at potential possibilities of, is it going to be somebody within the system that they're finally going to bring up that guy? Are they going to pan out? We don't know. But what you can do is potentially go out and make a trade for a known commodity. Not talking about bringing in a big, huge, massive contract, but a decent-sized contract. Trade away some of your pitching prospects that you have. There's no guarantee that these guys are ever going to pan out. So go out and get that. Known commodity. You know what they're going to do and how they're going to perform because they have a track record of how they do these things. Pop over back to the comments here real quick. Arlington and Thurman, you guys are going at it. Would you take a flyer on David Price? Absolutely not. I wouldn't. David Price is worn out. He's used up. He's done. He's spent. Thurman also says that Carlos is ready to be with a Kardashian. Yeah, I mean, what are they worth? Like $19 billion altogether or something like that? I don't know. I'm being facetious, but a lot of money. A lot of money. Arlington says Carlos might take this season seriously because of how the roster is shaping. Maybe. I hope so. I hope that's the case. I hope that he finally just, pulls his head out of his butt and he stops doing what he's been doing and starts understanding and gets it. And I don't know if this is the last year of his current contract or if he's got one more year on this. You guys could check that out. You guys could look it up, and we could go from there. But the Cardinals organization is now making all the right moves. Pay very close attention because they've been listening. Okay, everybody out there, they want to trash on John, Mozeliak. They want to be on Bill DeWitt, the owner. They want to do all these other things. Over at Gateway City Sports and In the Zone Network, we have never taken a cheap shot, and we never will. We're going to be fair, and we are going to be clear and concise. We're going to make sure that at In the Zone Network and Gateway City Sports that we are giving you both sides of the story. We're going to give you the pros and the cons, and we're going to allow you guys to make the decision on whether or not you want to be over here, or if you want to be over here, or if you want to be kind of right here. I'm kind of right here. I look from both sides. I look at all the magnificent, wonderful things that this ownership group and this management group has done over the last 2 decades. And you could say the Mo/Jocketty era, but just this ownership in general and what they have done, building this beautiful ballpark at Busch 3 and doing all the things that they've done, I give them all of the credit in the world, and they continue to keep surprising me, and they continue to keep doing well, and I am going to continue to keep supporting that, but I will be obligated to make sure to call them out whenever I see something that I don't like. There's still moves that need to be made. Still moves that need to be made. And we'll see what can get done. But it takes 2 to tango. It can't just be Mo. It can't just be the Cardinals. It can't just be DeWitt wanting to pay money or not pay money or whatever. It has to be another team that's willing to work with you. Let's get a little bit deeper into that Nolan Arenado deal. Because everybody talks about how it's highway robbery, right? To a certain extent, yes, I will agree. But you got to remember, this was the last year that Colorado was going to keep him. I've talked with plenty of friends out there in Colorado. Nolan was making it very clear. This is my last year here. I'm gone. I'm going to opt out and I'm going to leave. So, in theory, not only are they saving some money by getting his contract off the books now, yeah, they've got to eat $50 million. But they're going to get something in return. They're getting, 4 players? Now, whether or not those 4 players pan out, it's still 4 major league level type players that they're getting for nothing because they were going to lose him anyway. It didn't matter. He was making it very clear that he was going to leave and he wanted to go to a contender. If you guys watched the press conference, the announcement yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, that the Cardinals had put out with Mr. DeWitt and John Mozeliak and Nolan, it was a fantastic interview. And Nolan, I loved watching him, right? Because I'm a little bit more seasoned. I have a little bit more years on me. I saw the excitement, right? I saw the excitement in his eyes and his face. I got it. Because watching somebody like that is such a huge, just loves to play baseball, just loves it. It, eats it, breathes it, sleeps it. To see that from him and to know what he's going to bring to the table, and he's going to be playing at an ultimate level now because he is so excited. That's what I'm excited to see. That's what I want to see out of Carlos Martinez. That's what I want to see out of some of these other players too as well. So let's pop back over to the comments real quick. Arlington, and you guys, I tell you what, you're something else. Todd, hey, appreciate it, man. That's why I do these shows. I try to make the most kick-ass show that I can, and so you guys have fun. Arlington says exactly, Derek, take that head out of your butt, and take that head out of your butt. Thanks, Arlington, appreciate it, great show. Todd, how do you like that setup back behind me? And this is something I'm going to continue to keep rotating. I'm going to continue to keep changing it because I have so many jerseys and so much stuff back there. You guys are going to see some things, but that's not about what it is. Thurman says that a long shot move could be a reclamation project like Chris Archer. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I would take the risk on somebody like that if it was low risk, high reward, and to where I'm not having to pay them that much, and maybe I'm putting them in the bullpen or I'm giving them spot starts. That's okay. Maybe throwaway games, whatever the case is. That's where I would look at something like that potentially, is picking up something like that. Oh, sorry if you heard the puppies. They're mad because I'm in here doing my podcast, and they're in there. They're having a little bit of separation anxiety, so my apologies if you hear them yip periodically. They're so sweet. It's not even funny. They want to be around me all the time, and it's super cute. It's super cute. But St. Louis is becoming the NWO of the sports world. I'm going to take a hard pass on that one. I don't think that we're there yet, the NWO of the sports world. I think it's the envy. I really do. I think it's the envy of the sports world to be able to have, that kind of a respect from players, where Nolan sits there and says, when we come here, and Tulowitzki was still with the Colorado Rockies at the time, says, watch these guys. Watch this organization. Watch how they play ball. Watch how they run things. This is how you do it. That is the respect that is garnered from the hardcore players, the real players in baseball. Let's go back in time. Let's talk about Giancarlo Stanton. He didn't want to come here. He wouldn't waive his no-trade clause because Giancarlo Stanton doesn't care about baseball. He cares about himself. He cares about his product. He cares about his money. That's why he went to New York. So all the fans out there that wanted Giancarlo Stanton so bad, be glad you didn't get him. Because once I found out what I found out about him, I'm glad we didn't get him because he never would have fit. He never would have fit the mold, and he knew that. That's why he didn't come to St. Louis. And I'm glad that he didn't. That's why we got players like Lance Berkman and Carlos Beltran and all those other different types of players, because they were that type of player that wanted to be here and they wanted to succeed and they wanted to have that. So, I mean, that's all I got for this week. I'm glad you guys, had an amazing time other than our little hiccup there about halfway through and dropping the stream, which I apologize for. Nothing I can really do about that. It's the best I could do with what I got. But yeah, it's probably because there's some things that are running in the background, maybe a download or whatever the issue is, and being the fact that I don't have a wide range of bandwidth to play with over here. That's probably a lot of the reasons why. But we're going to continue to keep working on it. I'm going to adjust those levels down a little bit and make sure that we're still getting the best and highest quality of feed, audio-wise and video-wise. Todd Wright wants to know my Super Bowl pick. Well, Todd, if you went over and you checked out the rundown, you go over there. There's a ton of stuff we talked about over on that podcast. Go over Apple Podcasts and subscribe. Gateway City Sports. Go over there and subscribe. Make sure you do the same thing in the Zone Network too as well. They've got a lot of great content. But make sure you go over and you check out the rundown because I did talk about my Super Bowl pick in that. But I will tell you, my Super Bowl pick is going to be the Buccaneers by 3. And that's sacrilege, I know, Chiefs country, all that stuff. but I never bet against Brady. I've learned my lesson to never bet against Brady. Did Mo drop the bow tie after the deal was finalized? I hope so. I hate that bow tie, man. I don't like bow ties. I've never liked bow ties since the 80s because of Bill Bidwell. I've really despised bow ties ever since then. And so that's why I don't like bow ties. So I hope that the bow tie never comes back. I would really like to see him get rid of the sweater. I mean, come on, Mo. Kind of soccer mom, thing going on there. I understand it might be chilly in your office or whatever, bro. But man, I love you, Mo. I really do, man. But just, please, no more bow tie, okay? That's just a personal preference on my end, but definitely no more bow tie, okay, brother? All right, love you, Mo. But yeah, super great week. We're going to continue to keep building on it. Hopefully the Cardinals can go out and pick up a couple more good quality players, a couple more good pieces, and we're going to keep on going forward with that. So make sure you guys go over all the social media accounts. Make sure you add them. Make sure you follow them. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. iTunes, on the podcast. Make sure you go and you do that. Make sure you go over to Gateway City Sports. Sign up over there so that way you get notifications when all of our new articles drop, because we've got them dropping, several a week. You always want to catch up on that stuff. So make sure you guys also in the Zone Network. Make sure you go over to Facebook. You go over to Twitter. You guys add all of those guys over there. Make sure you add them on iTunes as well, on the podcasts. Like, share, subscribe. Get it out there. Because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have the growth that we have. We've been having tremendous, amazing growth. And it's thanks to you guys. Because what we're trying to do is have amazing content for you. We keep building on it. And the only thing we ask of you guys is to share it out there. We're never going to ask you for money. We're never going to put you behind a paywall, because you don't deserve that. Nobody does. You deserve real sports news by real sports fans on the Real Sports Networks. That's in the Zone Network and Gateway City Sports. So this is Derek King signing off from the Derek King Sports Show. Hope to see you guys again back here next week, Wednesday, 9 a.m. I'll see you guys then. Take care. Glad to have you with me today.